A divisive chemical was the subject of a recent executive order by President Trump. Glyphosate, best known as the active ingredient in weed killer Roundup. Trump's executive order was not well received by MAHA, the Make America Healthy Again movement here in the US. But the person most synonymous with MAHA, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., has publicly defended the president's action on glyphosate, triggering a widespread backlash among those in the MAHA movement.
This is actually devastating. It is not a conspiracy theory that glyphosate is linked to cancer.
So how does glyphosate work? Why is its use so controversial? And could this dust-up in the MAHA-verse have implications for the midterm elections? All that and more in this week's Status Report. The executive order, titled Promoting the National Defense by Ensuring an Adequate Supply of Elemental Phosphorus in Glyphosate-Based Herbicides, was recently signed by President Trump. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in Roundup, a weed-killing product manufactured by Bayer. The executive order goes on to say it is crucial to the national security and defense, including food supply security, which is essential to protecting the health and safety of Americans. Glyphosate is really good at killing weeds. Here's a quick and dirty explanation of how it works. The chemical targets the shikimate pathway, the shikimate pathway. I've heard it said both ways. I'm going to stick with shikimate. But it's a 7-step metabolic process that plants use to produce amino acids that are crucial for the plants to live. This is all a lot, but at the most basic level, glyphosate kills plants by disrupting their shikimate pathway. Okay, cool, but aren't crops plants? They are. But weeds and crops like corn are different kinds of plants, and they have different enough shikimate pathways that herbicide manufacturers can make products that kill weeds but mostly leave like soybeans or whatever alone. And glyphosate manufacturer Bayer also makes seeds that are engineered to make crops resilient against the chemical. But importantly, mammals don't have a shikimate pathway at all. We get essential amino acids through food. So we're all good then, right? That means glyphosate shouldn't be harmful to humans? Well, the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, reviewed glyphosate in 2020 and said it did not identify any human health risks from exposure to glyphosate, and that the benefits outweigh the potential ecological risks when glyphosate is used according to label directions. And food is also pretty important to human health, so this risk-benefit calculation isn't unreasonable on its face. On the other hand, it's not like there isn't any reason to be skeptical about the safety of glyphosate. For starters, a widely cited 2000 paper about glyphosate safety was retracted just last year because of ethical concerns. There was a lack of clarity regarding which parts of the article were authored by Monsanto employees, Monsanto being the company that manufactured Roundup at the time. More on Monsanto later. And back in 2015, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, which is part of the World Health Organization, classified glyphosate as a Group 2A carcinogen for being, quote, probably carcinogenic to humans. Group 2A is one rung below Group 1 carcinogens, which includes stuff like tobacco smoke and gamma radiation, and also like bacon and sun exposure. But maybe one of the most compelling reasons people are wary of glyphosate is that its manufacturer keeps getting sued and juries keep awarding the plaintiffs billions of dollars. It's important to note that 1, these suits were largely triggered by the International Agency for Research on Cancer study I just mentioned, and 2, jury trials are distinct from scientific studies, but I think it's probably safe to say that these judgments don't exactly help glyphosate's public perception. And the timing of these lawsuits could not have been worse for German pharmaceutical giant Bayer. The famous aspirin company acquired Monsanto, the company that made Roundup, in 2018, dropped the Monsanto moniker, and
a few moments later
got hit with over 100,000 lawsuits alleging the use of Roundup was responsible for cases of cancer like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And many of these lawsuits were filed by none other than Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and his law partners.
We sued Monsanto. There's many diseases that are linked to glyphosate exposure.
And last week, Bayer announced a class settlement agreement to resolve current and future claims. Glyphosate is very much an enemy of the Make America Healthy Again movement. And considering RFK Jr.'s history of litigation against the manufacturers of Roundup, MAHA folks had every reason to believe that he would oppose Trump's recent executive order. But that has not been the case. Kennedy has been supportive of the president, tweeting, "I support President Trump's executive order to bring agricultural chemical production back to the United States and end our near total reliance on adversarial nations." The MAHA backlash was swift.
I am freaking pissed. Did President Trump just hand legal immunity to pesticide companies?
It is the most enormous slap in the face to MAHA and all that we've worked towards.
Why with the how did this What's happening right now?
Politico reported that a person close to the White House said that Kennedy was not aware the executive order was coming and that its political ramifications had not been fully considered. They made Bobby walk the plank on it, said the person, granted anonymity to discuss the imbroglio. Imbroglio is such a great word. In response to all the backlash, MAHA Action, a non-profit organization headed by Tony Lyons, who has published some books authored by RFK Jr., posted a lengthy 17-footnoted piece to Substack. Along with outdoorsy photos of Kennedy, the post goes to great lengths to acknowledge the controversy among the MAHA faithful and is a call for unity from the organization, including this image which reads, "We will not allow corporate media or opponents to divide us. The MAHA agenda is bigger than any single policy." And it also takes particular issue with the idea that the executive order will shield manufacturers from legal liability, saying that, quote, "The most inflammatory claim circulating online is that this order gives pesticide companies blanket immunity from cancer lawsuits. That is not accurate." Thomas Massie, a Kentucky Republican that has broken with the Trump administration on some other high-profile issues, apparently read the order differently, going as far as drafting legislation deemed the No Immunity for Glyphosate Act. To get a better sense of how politically perilous this moment is for the Trump administration, I spoke with stat reporter Isabella Cueto, who reports on the Make America Healthy Again movement for Stat. But first, Status Report is a weekly video series from Stat. Every week, we bring you the biggest stories in health and medicine, breaking down complex topics, doing dispatches from the most important events in life sciences, and talking with Stat reporters and the experts shaping the future of medicine. So please like and subscribe if that all sounds interesting to you. It's a little click, but it helps us out a lot. And Status Report is now on Instagram. You can follow us at Status Report IG. Isa, thanks so much for coming on.
Of course, happy to be here.
So the backlash against this executive order and RFK Jr.'s support of it in particular from the MAHA-verse has been kind of striking. RFK Jr. was sworn in just over a year ago, last February. How significant do you think this dustup is for RFK Jr.'s standing among the MAHA faithful?
I think it is very significant, especially because this is an issue that Kennedy has basically made a name for himself in a way by being an environmental advocate, an environmental lawyer. He took on cases against pesticide makers in the past. And so now for him to sign on to an executive order and sort of give his stamp of approval saying, yeah, we need these pesticides, it has felt like a big slap in the face to a lot of people in MAHA who care about the issue of pesticide use. At the same time, one could argue, and Kennedy is arguing in a tweet, that this is basically not his purview. This is not his arena. He does not work at the EPA. He is not the president. And so he just needs to basically, make the best of the situation as health secretary.
Yeah. And we've reported here at Stat that Trump and RFK Jr. actually have a pretty close relationship. Kennedy's defense, I found Kennedy's defense of the executive order is almost kind of an old school, like, hey, the boss says it's national security and who am I to, that I'm just going to support him. That's my role. So do you think that's kind of the dynamic here? And do you think that for things that are more under Kennedy's purview that don't maybe escalate to literal national security issues, he's more willing to show independence?
Yeah, I think it is really interesting because over time, over the past year, I've definitely seen Kennedy fall in line in some ways, like any of the other cabinet members, whenever he is taking a victory lap or holding a rally for one of his accomplishments at HHS, he always makes sure to thank President Trump. He, praises President Trump's leadership and courage and everything else. And so that is very conventional. But on the other hand, Trump has really given Kennedy a long leash to do what he wants to do on health. And both of them have said that. I mean, in the beginning, Trump said, I'm going to let him run wild. Kennedy very recently said that any other president probably wouldn't have let him do all the things that he wants to do. And so I think it's a mix of both. And on this issue, it's a hard line to walk because so many MAHA people care a lot about this issue.
In the MAHA movement in Trumpism has always felt like an uneasy alliance. MAHA folks will, in this case, advocate for things like environmental protection in corporate regulations that are usually more associated with the political left in this country as positions. If the MAHA movement is becoming disillusioned or becomes disillusioned with this administration, how impactful do you think that could be? Like, do you get the sense that the movement is big enough to cause real political problems for the president?
TBD, right? We're going to see that later this year, but I think there are signs that it is a force to be reckoned with, that people care a lot about health. They care a lot about the affordability of healthcare and drugs and everything else. And also Trump is trying to make health a central part of midterm elections. MAHA is saying we support this candidate, but not that one because they're not aligned with us. And so I think it is a formidable group, and people are going to have to reckon with it going into midterms.
In like, what is your sense in your reporting, like where things stand? Like, does the MAHA movement basically got its biggest champion to be health secretary? It doesn't get a bigger win than that. But a year in, how are they feeling about it? People and leaders of this movement, other than Secretary Kennedy, like how do they feel that things are going?
I think it is difficult to answer that question because MAHA is kind of massive and shapeless to a certain extent. And so the moms on the ground that are reading food labels may feel differently. But I think the core followers, the people that are super invested, that are engaged, they're pushing the message, they're feeling like they've racked up a lot of wins in the first year. And like, sure, there may be controversy here and there, but think about everything that's been done, including overhauling a vaccine schedule, which is a huge priority for a lot of them. One thing that is kind of interesting is that the dietary guidelines were considered such a huge win. Because that kind of cuts across the board. Even people who have different feelings about vaccines will be happy about, like more fruits and vegetables and more whole foods and what have you. And they're really milking that. I mean, they're doing a road show. They're going all these different states. Kennedy's going to be in Texas this week at a rally. And yet, this kind of bomb drops into that celebratory feeling about glyphosate. And so, yeah, I would hate to be his chief of staff right now.
Is there anything else do you think we like that feels like we should touch on, or?
No, but I actually have one thing. Give me 1 second. I probably should have brought this earlier. My very own.
How did you just lift that from a fence?
I went to the Mike Tyson rally at HHS last week.
Oh, you were there?
I was there in the flesh.
Incredible.
So, Mike, why don't you come up and...
And there were all of these on every seat, and they have like different, I think I counted 9 different images, and so people were kind of like trading them and being like, oh, I have like the egg, can I have the banana one? And I asked if I could take one, and they said yes. So
and those are yeah, I reckon they're iconic already. That's already.
I know, that's what I said. I was like, it's such an iconic visual. And it also provides ample lumbar support in the seat when you're sitting there. So that's my visual aid.
What a souvenir. It's incredible. Isa, that was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks again to Isa. Stat and this channel will have continuing coverage of the MAHA movement, so be sure to check out statnews.com. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It's a little click, but it helps us out a lot. And we'll be back next week. Same stat time, same stat channel.